Hey everybody, today I want to talk about patterns. And everybody, as we age, we pick up various different emotional, behavioral, um, kind of daily life patterns. And typically these patterns have a purpose. Patterns like not necessarily being very forthcoming with your emotions, or escaping from a violent situation by removing yourself, or overachieving so that one can find purpose and meaning. Or typically, what we do with these patterns is we are looking or developed in the interest of self preservation, and it's largely a defense mechanism from some other source. So oftentimes when we're children, we develop behavioral patterns that help us rationalize our lives and move through it with the least amount of damage to our psyche. So, for example, if you grew up in a home where there was a lot of alcohol abuse, maybe a pattern, or violence, maybe a pattern would be to remove yourself and move out of that home when that was happening. And perhaps you may notice as you age that one has a tendency to continue to remove oneself from situations that are trying, or from those situations that remind you of those situations that were either violent or abusive growing up. And that may be a very well developed self preservation pattern while you were growing up. But today, it may not be something that serves you. So, one of the opportunities that we have as adults is to choose. Many children react certain ways to stimuli because that's their training, that's the way that they've developed these patterns, these responses. And we as adults like to think that we have a little bit more influence over our actions and our responses. That being said, it can be easy to revert to childhood response patterns that have been developed and honed over time in the interest of self-preservation. However, oftentimes these patterns don't serve us in the adult world. So I think it's critical to be honest with oneself about behavioral patterns that may have served us at one point, and when it's time to ask ourselves, is this pattern still serving me? Is this behavior I still want to do? Do I need to do this? Is this something that is helping me grow? And for example, I've developed a pattern where I don't communicate my emotions, because where I grew up, communicating emotions was not something that we often did. It was something where if you did, you might be subject to ridicule or emotional or kind of degradation or abuse, not in an entirely malicious way, but perhaps in a well-intentioned but not emotionally sensitive manner. So we were taught that it was just easier to get through life if you kind of stuffed down your feelings and just continued to kind of shoulder on and stumble forward. And so I've done that my entire life, and it's something that I still struggle with. However, there are many situations in modern day life, being an adult, where that type of behavior doesn't suit me. And in fact, that type of behavior can often inhibit my personal growth and my progress. And it's really critical to have the space between deciding, when faced with an emotionally triggering situation, what behavioral pattern I'm going to exhibit. Am I going to regress to my old course of shoving my emotions and my feelings down, not talk, shut down emotionally, go away, and dig my way out of that hole, or can I communicate openly and be vulnerable with my thoughts and feelings? I would say I do the former far more often, but I acknowledge that it's a pattern that I've picked up over time that used to serve me well. And today it probably still serves me well to a degree. But it might be time to flip the switch on that pattern and start moving a different direction in the interest of self exploration and emotional and mental and spiritual growth.